Hey friends, welcome back to Crime Adjacent, the #1 true crime podcast in the world, thanks to you. Here's where things stand. It's Friday, September 27th, 2024, and I had just left Bear River Country Club on Walloon Lake for downtown Petoskey. Sheriff Press and Deputy Swanson had important things to do, and I, quite frankly, needed to eat. I arrived on this lake in northern Michigan with a simple plan. Nikki and I had just done a live show at the Chicago Theater in, Chicago, and then we had a live taping of this podcast scheduled for Carnegie Hall in New York the next week. Like a literal dream come true. Truly, we would not be here without you. But in between these live shows, while I was in the general area, I wanted to visit the old Hemingway house on Walloon Lake. This is an old cabin on the lake once used by the writer as a child and younger man for hunting and fishing and all his manly things that would become a part of his oeuvre in literature. Not necessarily my cup of tea, but a good buddy of mine from the Marines was always talking about it, like a mecca spot for him to visit. I got that. This buddy never made it, and I think I sort of wanted to honor his memory in a way by visiting. Like, if I visited in his stead, maybe he would in some weird way have visited as well. I don't know. I think, if I'm being really honest, there's guilt that comes with surviving, and I think I wanted to assuage that in some way. So on that Friday, as this case was building and growing and connecting itself in wild ways to murder and hidden cameras and blackmail, I thought about heading over to the cabin. But man, honestly, by this point I was starving and decided to head downtown instead. It's astounding to me how tiny decisions like this, whether to visit a landmark or just go to a sandwich place to eat, can have wildly divergent outcomes. Because as I strolled around Petoskey, after the most delicious sandwich I had ever had, the Julian Tomatoes place is top-notch. I noticed something. Well, a man. I noticed a man in particular. Short, bald, huge neck, leather jacket, darty eyes, and leather gloves. He was following me everywhere. In this episode, I'm talking about Hemingway, guilt promises, cloak and dagger moments in the unlikeliest of places, and a meeting with Jimmy Ball that might, at long last, explain everything. Here's the story. But first, thanks for joining our True Crime College meetup last week on Patreon, patreon.com/crimeadjacent. I thought it was a fascinating discussion about the early days of FBI profiling and how the original profilers sought to position this practice as real scientific-ish advancements in law enforcement. Well, in the next reading, we are taking an opposing view of this theory, an opposing view that says profiling is nothing more than smoke in mirrors. Check it out at patreon.com/crimeadjacent. It's amazing. I can't wait to see you at the next True Crime College in February. From San Francisco, this is Crime Adjacent, the never-ending true crime thriller told weekly. I'm Chase Patrick. It might not seem like it, but I really try not to involve myself too much in cases. Most of the time, Nikki and I and our team of crime-adjacent investigators and reporters, and often the lawyers, always the lawyers, pull from media stories or interviews or public records to piece together our true crime stories. But occasionally, we do get pulled into cases. You might remember the season of the Rest Stop Killer case, or the case of Father O'Reilly. Next season, I'm going to dive deep into the family massacre murders that dominated the news in 2022 and left a trail of bodies over the entire country. But sometimes, occasionally, we don't just get pulled into cases, we get pulled in deep, like deep enough to be in danger ourselves. This is not the best part of the job, not by any stretch of the imagination. I'm a dorky podcaster who loves nothing more than linking true crime cases and clues to obscure sociological theories, because I think the study of humans and human interaction is like a superpower for solving cases. And I think, as a former Marine, a literal force recon operator, I also understand that humans are super complicated and nuanced and multifaceted with all sorts of motivations and changing interests and life experiences, even if we get pigeonholed and categorized as this one overarching, unchanging thing. That's not true. We all have all sorts of interests. We change. We grow. We slip up. We go against character. We listen to crimes. And sometimes ourselves commit them, like the high school wrestling coach in Petoskey, Edison Eddie Devereaux, the man who was following me. I noticed him first in the restaurant, Julian Tomatoes. Highly recommend. I was starved and thoroughly enjoying my turkey sandwich that comes on this dried cherry bread. It's insanely delicious. When I noticed this guy a few tables over, short, bald, stocky, thick neck, leather coat. He looked like a corporate dock worker. I couldn't quite place him. And I noticed that, unlike everyone else in this place, he wasn't in conversation with anyone, and unlike all the other solo diners, he wasn't on his phone. He looked away every time I glanced over. It's possible he recognized me, honestly. That happens from time to time. But this just felt different. I finally had enough and left. I explored downtown and was reminded of just how cute and quaint this town is. But I noticed, everywhere I went, I could see this short, stocky, bald guy behind me. I saw him through glass reflections at the bookstore, the fudge shop, one of the cafes, the men's clothing store. He was everywhere. This couldn't be a coincidence. This guy was following me, and unlike force recon operators, he was horrible at it. I admit, part of me wondered, was this the clown creeper? This guy was short and stocky, whereas the witnesses all said tall and lanky for the clown. So maybe not, I don't know. I needed answers, and I knew just how to get them. I led the stocky, bald guy past downtown towards the waterfront where there's this pedestrian tunnel that leads under the main road. It's long, dark, quiet, and at this time of year and time of day, it was totally deserted. It would be perfect. I entered the tunnel slowly, letting the man catch up. I could hear his footsteps growing louder and faster, as if he sensed this was the perfect place to stop me. I strolled casually, slowly, not a care in the world. The footsteps were louder now, faster. I could hear breathing, the swoosh of fabric, the scratch of gravel on his shoes. He was close, very close, almost there. I could practically sense his arm going backwards, winding up, ready to take a swing. I heard feet pivoting on the wet pavement, crunching rocks and making a sweeping sound that was discordant to his fast, clumping gait. He was clearly preparing to hit me from behind, swiveling his body for maximum impact. I waited and waited and waited, and then stopped and launched backwards, my back thudding hard into his chest and his turned shoulder. Then I quickly turned around to face him and pushed him away with both arms, his face a mask of surprise and shock. We were now separated by a few feet. Silence hung between us. I sized him up, short, stocky, thick neck, stumpy legs. This guy looked tough, muscly. I have 3 rules when it comes to fights. 1, run, especially if the guy has a knife. Like, why stick around? I'm not going to let some social concept of manliness keep me rooted in place with the potential for missing teeth/skin or worse. No thanks. But 2, and pro tip here from Force Recon, if you can't run, wait for dudes to swing with the right fist, like a big haymaker. 90% of guys do this. Just duck or block or evade and then run or punch back, it depends. But rule 3, and this one is important, if they don't do this, if they kick or do something that shows experience with fighting, well, see rule 1, run. I thought about rule 3 here because this guy standing in front of me got over his shock and surprise fast. He didn't throw a right cross. He swiveled his feet again, put his hands up a tiny bit like a boxer or a wrestler, and honestly, he looked like a stocky T-Rex, and I stifled a laugh. Rule 4, I guess. Men get enraged when you laugh at them, especially when they're trying to be big and tough. Life lesson from the before times, back in Ridgewood when I was younger, before my parents kicked me out. I talk about some of that in season 7. Anyway, the point is, he was clearly sizing me up. Shit, I thought. This guy knows what he's doing. Normally I'd just take off at this point. Rule 5, I guess. Guys also sprint for the first 100 yards and just completely gas themselves out within a quarter mile. They can't help it, just pumped up on adrenaline and inexperience. So I knew a nice, speedy little clip would get me out of real danger within 90 seconds. No problem. There's a reason Marines run and swim so damn much. We can escape literally anything. Sorry, the point is, all these thoughts raced through my head in these split seconds in the dark tunnel. But ultimately, I kept coming back to this. I needed answers, and I had a feeling this guy could provide them, because I was also thinking of all those townsfolks, just everyday guys like the man in front of me, who suddenly started doing really strange, random, out-of-character crimes that year, like beating up tourists in a darkened tunnel. I asked, "Is someone paying you?" The man stopped his hands and sizing me up, and he said, "What? Is someone paying you to do this?" "No." "Come on, you're what, a PE teacher? A wrestling coach?" His face turned to shock, surprise, fear. I had clearly guessed correctly. But the thing is, I had seen his type. Sensible shoes, a nice haircut, a bald head kept trim and clean, a beige button-down, a beige matching tie, and leather jacket that wasn't expensive. I studied people. I knew people. I'm just kidding. He had a name badge dangling from his belt, tied to one of those retractable cord spools, like so he could grab his badge and key himself into doors. As much as I'd like to believe it, I'm not some Agatha Christie detective. The badge quite literally said, Edison Devereaux, teacher, Petoskey High School. I pointed to the badge and the man cursed. He was new to this, I could tell, but not new to fighting. He was ready. With his thick neck and muscles, I assumed gym teacher, maybe wrestling. Turns out, Edison Eddie Devereaux is quite good at it. He is the wrestling coach, state champ himself, and has taken several students to state titles over the years. But why, I wondered, did he suddenly want to beat me up? And he looked eager to do it. Okay, I said, so they're not paying you. They're blackmailing you. Something with your phone. Photos, maybe. Eddie took a step back, cursed, then stepped forward again, regaining himself. "You need to leave," he snarled. What was going on in this town? Teachers sexting, principals embezzling, cafe owners beating up students, and now this wrestling coach ready to take my head off. "You need to leave," he repeated. "Now. You need to pack up and get out of town. Today. Do you understand?" This was going to be a problem, I said. I didn't tell him I had a meeting later with Sheriff Press and Swanson and Jimmy Ball and his parents. Jimmy had something important to tell us about the cameras inside Claire's cabin and Aubrey's cabin, and he was clearly scared. Remember, this is the high schooler who was seen around town on the same surveillance footage used to tie these local people to their strange crimes. He was connected in this way to each of these crimes, and the thought struck me. I asked Eddie, "Is Jimmy behind this?" Eddie flashed genuine confusion. "Who's Jimmy? Listen, pal, you need to go, now, or things are going to get serious." Clearly, Eddie was new to this. He was a teacher, a coach, not a mob enforcer, even if he played one in the tunnel. I asked, leave town? Right now? Eddie nodded. He said, "Pack up and go. Now." "And you won't hit me?" "Not if you leave. Now." He was breathing hard. He didn't want to hit me. I could see that. He didn't want to be there. He looked worried, conflicted, huffed up on adrenaline and fear. Yes, he looked like he could handle himself for sure, but it looked like he didn't really want to. So rule 6, I guess. Lie. Lie your ass off. "Okay," I said. "I'm out, right now. I'll go to my cabin and pack up. I don't need this." I could see Eddie weighing his options. He had suddenly gotten exactly what he had come for. I was leaving. I could see him turning it over in his head. Did he need to hit me now? Could he just let me go? He stepped to the side and let me pass, headed back to downtown. As I made my way to the end of the tunnel, Eddie shouted, "I'll be watching you, and if I see you again..." His voice trailed off. I made my way through the quaint downtown, eyeballing passers-by. Someone had clearly gotten to this gym teacher, this wrestler. Like Mr. Rodman or Dorian Block, someone had hacked his phone. Someone was blackmailing him. I couldn't prove this, but this was another case of an average guy just doing crimes so wildly out of character because someone was making him do it. I wondered, passing all these residents, if anyone else was being blackmailed. If anyone else would suddenly strike out of the blue. I felt like I was the only uninfected person in a zombie movie, and I honestly felt grateful to make it to my car. I was eager for our meeting that day, because I hoped this meeting with Jimmy Ball might provide the answers I was looking for. It did, and it didn't. Jimmy Ball lives with his parents on East Mitchell Street on a hill overlooking the city. Wide front porches, American flags, every other house sporting flower-lined walkways, and college football flags as well. Michigan or Ohio State, a heated rivalry. Press and Swanson met me at his house, and together we knocked on the sleek wooden door. Jimmy's parents opened, together. Tim and Ted. Nice people, but clearly freaked. Their son had just been arrested for breaking and entering that morning. Press hadn't yet filed charges about the cameras, so his bail was light enough to get him out for the day. Tim had called Sheriff Press just hours later. They needed to talk, he said, now. And they had one caveat. They also needed protection. Jimmy sat between his dads on the couch. It was a study in contrast. Tim and Ted owned a string of food trucks that operated in downtown Petoskey, as well as Traverse City and other tourist cities in the area. It was lucrative and fun. They were foodies, and they wanted to support local chefs while also building a tourist foodie destination. They moved to Petoskey from Chicago, where they were both chefs but were done with layoffs and closures and bad reviews. Ted hinted at an incident, and they both shifted uncomfortably on the couch. Tim said, "We wanted to find a place where we were welcome, where we could be, where we could call home." Petoskey felt that way, especially after the Great Flag incident a few years earlier. Apparently one resident complained about pride flags, and so it was as if the entire town banded together, quietly, and peppered every park and open space with pride flag after pride flag like a giant F.U. to the bigots. Tim and Ted wanted to change of pace, a 9-to-5 lifestyle in a quiet, welcoming town, and they heard about this flag uprising, and it just felt like the right time to move, to find a new home. Petoskey was everything they wanted, but they admitted Jimmy had a hard time adjusting. He struggled in school, tried to join the band, tried to make friends, tried to go out on dates. He was quiet and charming and polite and very clearly scared to death. That morning, after being bailed out, he told his parents everything. I could tell the family had been crying all morning, worried, red-eyed, confused. Ted, with a white beard and bald head and a big bear belly, said, "I don't get it. He's not even into computers. We don't understand at all." Tim, tall and skinny and no nonsense, cut off his husband. He snapped, tell them now." Jimmy's eyes bolted from his head. The kid was scared to the point of shaking. "Go on," Tim said. "I don't care if he's listening, that little shit. Tell them now." I wanted to ask, if who's listening? But Swanson used her knee to bump mine, like, "Quiet, let him talk." Jimmy inhaled. His voice shook. "It's Bill, my friend, Bill LeBoa, next door. He made me." Press leaned forward, her eyes darting between Jimmy and his father, Tim. "What do you mean he's listening? Is he listening right now? Are there cameras here too?" Ted and Tim glanced around the room, unsettled, spooked. Jimmy shrugged. "Maybe," he said. "He listens to everything, to everyone." Next time on Crime Adjacent. Like Jimmy Ball, Bill LeBoa was in high school, a senior. He used to be known as, how do I say this? The fat kid. Small town. People teased. He kept to himself, his computers. He was booted from the robotics team for hacking a competitor's system and causing a malfunction during a robot battle. Smart kid. Bright. But sometime around the middle of junior year, things changed. He grew. He slimmed down. Like Jimmy, he was tall and skinny and lanky, but still friendless. No one really liked him. Except Jimmy, who moved to town in January of that year and got to know his next-door neighbor, the only kid he knew in town. They began to hang out. Jimmy said, "I kept thinking, if only I had not agreed to hang out, to be his friend. Maybe things would be different. But then I think, no, Bill would have gotten his way anyway. He always does." Press and Swanson listened patiently, coaxing out as much as they could, gently. But I kept thinking, these are high schoolers. What the hell is going on? And who the hell is this Bill kid? If you're liking what you're hearing, a very quick 5-star review on your favorite listening app helps spread the word about this show and keeps the lights on for everyone. Thanks for being here. Until next week, this is Chase Patrick from San Francisco with the reminder, it's not crime, it's crime adjacent.